Diets and workouts, you've done the work, so why can't you get to your goal weight? That's because up to 70% of your weight is predetermined by your genetics. So while you've been told that it's all about your willpower, you're actually fighting your biology. Don't do it alone. Found's Doctor Design program uses medication as part of a treatment plan that targets your body's unique biological needs, so that your body works with you and not against you. Take the quiz at joinfound.com to see if Found's weight loss program is right for you.
This is GoPowerCat.com publisher Tim Fitzgerald with great news to share with our valued 24/7 Sports VIP members. As a way of saying thank you, a subscription to a CBS All-Access commercial-free plan is now included with your 24/7 Sports VIP membership at no additional cost. Watch all of your favorite shows on demand along with exclusive access to GoPowerCat's award-winning and one-of-a-kind coverage of Kansas State sports. Stream more than 10,000 episodes, all access originals, and live TV, including NFL on CBS games. Enjoy the CBS All Access commercial-free plan, a $99.99 annual value for the lifetime of your 24/7 Sports VIP membership. It's an incredible added value for our subscribers, and it's time you probably take advantage of this deal and become a Go PowerCat member. And remember to subscribe to the Powercat Podcast at your favorite podcast provider, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Now, here is your Powercat Podcast.
The following is a GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to GoPowerCat.com's Powercat Insiders Podcast, presented by Commerce Bank, and it starts right now. Now, let's go to the WTC Gig-Powered Studios. Here's your host, GoPowerCat.com publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to another edition of the Powercat Insiders Podcast, sponsored by Commerce Bank. Tim Fitzgerald, Matt Walters of the Kansas State Radio Network, or whatever the dang thing's called.
K-State Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.
That's why I let him do it. Kellis Robinette from all newspapers still printing in the United States, but most importantly, the Wichita Eagle and Kansas City Star. And Ryan Black from the one paper not worked at by Kellis, the Manhattan Mercury. That got really confusing. Yeah. And Ryan is our SEC NASCAR expert, because on a podcast about Kansas State, you need these avenues of information.
We ran Kellis. We've run a couple of his stories before, just like when he sneakily got some stuff that we didn't get. Like sneakily. Like we ran the thing like when you talked to Gene about getting the game at Arrowhead, and we ran like.
Oh, you have access to that stuff.
Because we definitely need, like, it's the Tribune News Service, and so it also includes stuff from like Topeka, things like that, because we especially like it for Chiefs stuff, because obviously we don't have Chiefs beat writer, so it's important to have that. You
print guys need to unite.
But hey, it even picks up my stuff sometimes. It's nice that I've seen my stuff picked up from time to time.
Like your NASCAR stuff?
Well, hey, I've covered a few races, but I didn't do it this year. I was just going to say, Kellis, the other one I remember was when last year you did that story, like, when's the next time men's basketball is going to retire a jersey, and it all centered around pulling. So those are the two for certain I know that we've run from you.
Maybe we should start running your NASCAR stuff. I'm sure.
I don't write that much. I don't write that much. Anyway, football, right?
Kansas State.
Remember to talk about K-State basketball later.
Yeah, I know. I'll forget. Kansas State defeats Kansas 38-10 in a game that wasn't nearly that close. A long day of domination for the Jayhawks at the hands of the Wildcats. It looked like K-State put it all together. It was very impressive. And we'll get into a lot of different areas of discussion with that game. But first, remember, we are brought to you by Commerce Bank, where Matt Walters works and looks like a professional.
Commerce has the technology and the people to help with whatever financial challenges come your direction. Commerce Bank challenge accepted.
There we go.
It should have been worse than 38-10.
Mm-hmm.
Much worse.
Yep.
Yeah, I went back and watched the game again. There's nothing like rewatching a game on DVR that you can just speed through all the stuff in between. And the play, nothing happens, you just go through that too. And kickoffs and all that.
Glad you actually got to watch it. We know last week you were having all your problems being able to replay it on.
I took the advice of a subscriber and found it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Does it seem strange the games are on YouTube?
Yes.
It doesn't seem like licensing would allow that.
Well, but it's on the Big 12 official channel, right? I mean, who did you find it from?
I don't know who
The
it
Big
was.
12 hasn't done a good job of updating theirs.
Oh.
I've been really disappointed with them. They at the start of the year they started releasing condensed games, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Everything down in 30 minutes, but they haven't done that in a long time.
So I was just going to ask,
What a
is that
tease.
Sure.
is that TV? You don't want to call it a TV show, but like seeing those condensed games where you see every play
Right.
from the other Big 12 games. Is that still happening?
That's what he was talking about. They used to do that on the Big 12 website, and they've stopped, apparently. Big 12.
When do those typically air?
The digital footprint of the Big 12 is lacking.
Yeah.
Social media, all of it is just lacking. I don't know.
Well, yeah, especially when you just compare it to some of.
We've already been derailed, by the way.
Twice.
Well, I just say just compare it to like how awesome K-State's social media feed is, or look at some of these
I know.
professional teams. They're amazing Twitter feeds.
And you make a great point. I understand what the Big 12 is trying to do. They're trying to save money, but look what Kansas State does with
Man.
a really limited number of people.
Amazing what their staff does.
Just about hiring good people. And I have good people around me to talk about this football game that we're going to get to right here. I got the stats right in front of me.
Oh, man.
It was, K-State got the 3-and-out on the first drive by Kansas, the first possession of the game, and then went down the field and scored in 10 plays, 88 yards. Is that what that says? Just kind of chugged right down the field and scored. And, that the first drives of a game don't really hardly ever set the tone. I mean, people script things. It looks good. It all falls apart.
Yep.
Nope, that summed it up. That kind of summed up the day. And I had a feeling it summed up the day. It was so dominant with the backup running backs, Matt. They just set a tone early, and it almost felt like KU didn't want anything to do with it.
Did what they wanted to do, did it how they wanted to do it, and that didn't change. Chris Kleiman told me coming out for the second half, he said the one thing that we, K-State, got to do and we want to do is we want to run it between the tackles. And the Wildcats just shoved it down KU's throats. To me, the thing that sticks out after the last couple of weeks, and I don't know if you want to call it major, if you don't want to call it major, but K-State's got to eliminate these 15-yard penalties.
It's horrible.
This is not an undisciplined football team, but I think because there is a little more freedom in what they do, how they play, etc., that's why some of these penalties are happening. That's, to me, the one thing that's got to get cleaned up. But Saturday was much more of a blowout than I anticipated.
Matt, I'm curious with your vantage point when you're on the sideline. Could you just feel like the air being let out of the balloon on KU sideline and just in the stadium? Just because this was like, the most anticipated matchup in this rivalry in a long time, and then Kansas State made it pretty non-dramatic very quickly. Could you feel that just being there on the field? Could you feel it?
Yeah, that's why I was a little taken by the comment after the game. It wasn't so much what K-State did, it's what we didn't do. Mm-hmm. Incorrect. Totally incorrect. I don't know what game you were watching, Les, but
Les wasn't watching.
I was not watching the same game, apparently. Now, granted, they didn't have success, but there was quite a bit of it that was caused because of what K-State did and how K-State did it. But in answer to your question, I mean, look at the first two touchdown drives, 10 plays, 88 yards, 10 plays, 78 yards, and those two drives combined for over 11 minutes. It's not a lot KU could do about it.
No, and they did it with James Gilbert sidelined with an injury. Jordan Brown tried to go, carried the ball twice, and left the game for good in Kellis. Harry Trotter, man. The offensive line was spectacular, but Harry Trotter was a warrior.
Yeah, I actually thought when he got the start, I thought that was really bad news for Kansas State because we saw how much they missed Jordan Brown, and I didn't really want to see what their offense was like without James Gilbert. But, it didn't matter. They could have probably not even played Harry Trotter and still won the game going away. I was really disappointed with KU in this one. I expected more.
I did too.
I think they really let down the rivalry here. After all the talk and everything,
Yeah.
I was ready for a competitive game. I didn't think KU was going to win, but I thought it'd be close. I thought it'd be cool to have the sellout crowd there the whole time, but it just ended the same way it always did. The play that stood out to me is, not to take anything away from K-State here, but the one where they had the blitz going and he hit the KU defender, hit Skylar Thompson.
I still don't know how he got out of it.
Absolutely should have had him sacked, and he just spins out of it. Then he throws to Dalton Schoen. Spins out of a tackle, spins out of a tackle, spins out of a tackle, spins out of 7 more tackles. It's like, Really? I mean, they should have just walked off the field after that play.
It looked like an absurd PlayStation
That was the
play.
worst exhibition of tackling I've ever seen. Not taking anything away from Dalton Schoen.
No,
I mean, I couldn't do it.
And that's the crazy thing about that play is that, to me, the part that stands out about it is more the end because of how. But even the beginning, it did not seem like that's a play that should have even happened because Thompson should have been sacked, and it was just a cartoonish looking play. And I think, like you said, after that, you're like, yeah, this is definitely not KU's day, and K-State's going to literally do whatever it wants. And I'm glad you guys already brought it up because I think that's the other amazing thing is we talked about, well, how bad could it have been if K-State hadn't committed 11 penalties for, what was the final, 112 yards? Is that right? 113?
Yeah.
11 for 113.
Penalty yardage, 11 for 113.
Just how much worse it could have been if that hadn't happened. But then, like you said, the fact that K-State did this without its top 2 running backs.
That was incredible.
And Malik Knowles was not even that big of a factor.
No, he wasn't.
At all.
Well, they didn't have to throw the ball.
That's what I'm just saying.
Skyler ran it more than he threw it.
Yep. That's right.
It was just like earlier this year when I tipped my cap to Frank Reich, not to go to the NFL here, but when the Colts beat the Chiefs, finally in that ball game, Frank Reich realized we don't need to throw the football. We're just going to ram it down Kansas City's throats, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
And that's just what K-State did.
And it's incredible because they did it without their top 2 guys in the backfield. And the thing that really struck me the course of the game was K-State would pick up 5 or 6 yards with a run right up the middle. You know, Trotter's great. He might miss the first guy, but, the second guy will hit him right in the legs. Harry can't get out of the way. But they pick up 5 or 6 yards, and the KU linebacker or Mike Lee, the safety, get up celebrating. I'm like, dude, that's exactly what K-State wants to do. They want to get 5-6 yards, keep picking up first downs, and possess the ball and wear you down. And by the end of Tyler Burns played great, but by the end of the game, the KU defense was shot. I mean, they were just done. Because that's exactly how this coaching staff wants to play football, and it's fun to see.
Hey, guys, how much do you like seeing them run this option? I love it. Love it.
It's strange. The option was not something they used at North Dakota State. This is a wrinkle they put in here. And Skylar Thompson looked like an old hand.
Yeah.
He ran it perfectly.
I said it last week when Skylar ran the option against Oklahoma and scored that touchdown. Nobody was home. Piece of cake, and then they're doing it again. It's awesome. I mean, there was nobody close. It was blocked perfectly, but KU's defense had utterly zero clue about the option.
Kels, I was shocked by that. They never made an adjustment on the option. Even at the end of the game, it was still one guy trying to take the quarterback and the pitch guy.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what new wrinkle to throw in next week. Are we going to see Fumble Rooski? Like
triple
times?
option.
Triple option, yeah. Yeah, triple option.
Well, if they have Brown and Gilbert back like Kleiman hinted at, I imagine we'll see that inverted wishbone again.
Well, I remember back in the preseason that Gilbert said that, he's a decent thrower of the ball, so maybe they'll do some direct snap stuff.
Well, that's interesting.
One thing I will say about the penalties, though, I know that's too much, but I'm actually okay with a lot of it. I think the guys play with the swagger, and you know what? Bill Snyder couldn't live with it because the way he coached and the way that those teams operated, they weren't good enough to overcome those mistakes. I think
they played everything so close.
I think this team, in a way, you don't want to go overboard. This was definitely overboard, like the McPherson spinning the ball. That's an automatic penalty. Why are you doing it?
Oh, no, that was cool, though. He shouldn't have even been penalized because that was so cool.
Or they should have given like a 16-yard penalty because it was so perfect.
Or the referees could have held up like numbers like they were judging figure skating
Yeah.
instead of throwing a flag.
I like it.
I thought it was, Matt, I'm telling you, it was so cool.
I saw it.
It was like, you could tell it hit his little brain. It was like, I've been waiting my whole career to do this. Wham!
But I guess back to my point, though, is if you're going to make, if you're going to make a good play on a lot of good plays, I'm okay with the boneheaded thing.
They never showed the Trotter thing, the first one. I didn't really see what he did.
He was yelling at the fans after he scored.
Doesn't that happen quite a bit?
Seemed very ticky-tack.
The Kaltmeyer one was really bad. I mean, he just finished a block.
That's what it looked like to me when I saw the replay.
He knocked the guy over and then drove him into the ground, hopped on him, or whatever you want to say. But before the whistle, happens on almost every play. It was very strange. But they do. Some of the holdings were kind of funny. Chris Kleiman said we'll have to go back and look at the film, alluding to the fact they weren't holding. Oh yeah, coach, they were. I mean, they were just one where they're holding the jersey and the jersey stretched out right in front of the official. It was like, yeah, that's holding. But the way they play, and he said this before, Matt, we're going to accept the holdings. And basically what he's saying is, we hold all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most offensive lines do.
Yep.
And I think he's made it very clear. They're holding a lot. And I'm sure the folks in the Missouri Valley Conference complain all the time about all the holding North Dakota State does, and it never gets called. Well, it's almost like West Virginia defense in basketball. You foul all the time. They can't call it all the time.
Yep.
And when they settle into a groove, you know what they're going to call. And they really did only call the obvious holds, the ones that you kind of had to call out on the fringe, a receiver latching on, and the guy can't separate. Obvious ones.
Well, in the last 2 games, K-State's O-line has played exceedingly well compared to, at Oklahoma State and the Baylor game. If they continue to do what they're doing up front, and knock on wood, nobody's gotten hurt up front, they're going to win some more ball games. And again, bowl eligibility right at the beginning of November, especially after what happened with Oklahoma State and Baylor.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
We didn't see this coming. So now, if we're going to play that game we played earlier, I think you really are looking at an 8-4 or a 9-3 kind of year.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be stunned if they're not better than 8-4. Meaning, I'll be stunned if they don't want to lose 3 of these games. This one for me is the one. And this is why I know Texas has got issues, particularly in the secondary. But there's one thing you can't deny about Texas is they're going to have big, fast dudes up front.
Yep.
They will be tougher to block than Kansas. Oklahoma had that, but I think the way Oklahoma with their slanting defense played right into K-State's hand.
Well, and I think the other thing, too, is regardless of what Oklahoma said, if you believe K-State's players, Oklahoma was overlooking them. Texas knows what K-State's capable of now. K-State can't come in now and be, we didn't know what to expect from them.
You say that, but they always make this mistake.
Well, Texas needs this game, though.
Yeah.
They really do.
They can really overlook. If they want to have any prayer of making the Big 12 championship game, they got to win this one. So does K-State, honestly. The loser of this game is out of it. But,
do you know that's the first time I've even thought of those words? The Big 12 championship.
K-State's very viable.
It's unbelievable.
The winner of this game is in the mix. The loser is out.
Out.
Yeah, it's very viable. I mean, if K-State wins out and Oklahoma loses another game, they have the tiebreaker.
And it's all well and good for Texas that they've had 2 weeks to get ready for this game.
Yep.
There's a bunch that they have not seen.
Oh, I know.
Get ready.
That's exactly. You ask what they'll pull out.
Just wait.
They've got a bunch of stuff in this offense they haven't done, but they really do need the 3 running backs together in particular. Yeah. And I think they know this game's kind of the fulcrum of really big things, because then you get West Virginia and Tech, and then if everything goes right, you got a head of steam with Iowa State coming in. Very interesting. I was really impressed how they were prepared, Ryan.
Well, I want to say, because it's what it's been percolating on my mind here the last couple of minutes, is, going back to that story, Kellis, you wrote in the preseason about how much better Skylar plays when he's like the guy and he knows it. And when we knew that about him passing the ball, but I don't think I ever expected to see him run with such confidence. It's really remarkable. And
they refused to do it in those 2 losses. They were really protecting him in those 2 losses. And I think they finally realized,
we got to do it.
We got to do it, yeah.
They're just leaving it open, and if we don't use it, nothing else is open, because they got basically an extra man out there to cover everything. And it works. I still can't explain why the option works so well. It's pretty basic defense, how to stop it. But.
And Skylar doing what he's doing, assuming you take the injury stuff out of it, Skylar running like he's running makes Gilbert, Brown, and Trotter that much better.
Sure does. It gets very difficult. But injuries are a real concern with this team because of lack of depth, and Kellis A.J. Parker being out. That's one of the guys that you kind of worry about. He's been everything you need him to be. He's been the headline shutdown corner. Can't believe how much he's improved, but losing him, and we still don't know his status, I would guess he will not play at Texas.
Yeah, Chris Clemens said today he's doubtful, and he's actually going to go under an MRI today. So that doesn't sound good.
No.
They said it was hopefully a sprained ankle after Saturday, but probably won't play this week. And, the other guys have stepped up when he hasn't been in there. Kevion McGee, I thought, looked good the other day. Mm-hmm. They've got some other options, but you're right. He's been their best corner. You take him out against a team that passes the way Texas does. Yep. They lead the conference in passing touchdowns and attempts. I mean, it's going to be a tall order.
Because then who's the guy that handles Duvernay? Duvernay is by far Texas's best receiver. He's got a third of their catches. And to me, in this ballgame Saturday, it's don't let Sam Ehlinger go crazy on the ground, but you also have to bottle up Duvernay, because that is Texas's passing game right there.
Well, we know this. Texas has had real problems on their defensive side of the ball, but maybe they're getting some of those guys healthy. I don't know. I did absolutely no research heading into this podcast.
They may have a couple back on Saturday. But Stearns is the big one they need back.
Yeah, Caden Stearns.
Going back to the KU game, how stunned were you about K-State's defensive performance? I knew they would be good, but what they did to this offense that has been so high-powered and efficient was stunning to me. They took them out of everything they wanted to do.
The play that got me was the DeQuan Patton interception.
Yeah.
He knew where he was going to throw the ball.
That's great
That's not
coaching.
where he lined up. He lined up in the middle of the field, and then as soon as the play started, he just moves right over like he's throwing it right here. I'm just going to catch it in the numbers and pick off the pass. That's exactly what happened.
It's great preparation.
That's like what they did every play. There were a few times, and even the times when KU had him out schemed, like they had a great wheel route designed to Puka Williams on a play where they ended up with Wyatt Hubert trying to cover him.
That's a good matchup.
Could have been a touchdown. He had huge separation, but there was so much pressure on Carter Stanley, he couldn't even look over there and throw it.
And KU did not, just like Oklahoma, hardly ever went deep.
Didn't have time.
Didn't have time for it.
Didn't have time. Once they started hitting Carter Stanley, you wanted nothing to do with it.
The way they corralled, fenced in Puka Williams was pretty impressive. It was really good assignment sound football.
Well, and the other thing I would say is I think, Scotty Hazelton, K-State's defense coordinator, did a great job of just mixing in the blitzes very effectively because, like, the one that sticks out to me was a third down where Goolsby came on unblocked, hit him. It didn't it affected the pass enough where it just ended up falling limply to the ground because I think he had an open receiver that he probably would have been able to hit had Goolsby not been there.
And he unloaded on him.
And it's not just K-State offensively. Again, I'll go back to Texas may have had 2 weeks to get ready for this game, but there's still a lot Scotty Hazelton and this defense haven't done.
Guys, how wrong were we about that defense this year? We said that I think we all said at least 27 a game they were going to allow, and
I'm stunned by the secondary.
Yeah,
I'm really, really stunned. Particularly
especially
the corners.
after how bad they looked in the first two Big 12 games.
Yeah.
I don't know how they just turned the switch like this. It's been crazy.
It's called coaching.
And why won't Matt spill the beans over here? He got all these.
On what?
Well, apparently what they're going to run next week on offense and defense.
Oh.
Quit teasing it.
No, I'm just saying.
Come on.
The double mamba jambo whammy shingadinga longa.
We're seeing just bits and pieces more all the time. Again, K-State's just scratched the surface, and opposing defenses are off balance because, yes, they know what's going to come in terms of K-State's running game, but there's still plenty of stuff that's there.
It strikes me in the early years of Bill Snyder, particularly the little bit later when he went to the quarterback run game with the offense he designed for Michael Bishop, they would run the same play over and over out of different looks, different formations, different personnel, and they got away from that, and they were just running the same plays, mostly out of the same formations, the point that all of us could watch and go, well, they're going to run the quarterback draw right here. This is a throwback to that. They run a lot of the same plays, but, boy, they come at it in different ways. They'll shift guys around. They do so much movement and eye candy at the start of the play. The defense is still trying to decipher things when all of a sudden the ball's coming at them. It's really fun to watch. It's a fun brand of football. But they're 6-2 now as Kansas State is bowl eligible. That berth in the Cheetos Triscuit Depend Bowl is now possible.
Camping World Bowl. I think that's where they go.
That would be a significant selection. First time ever in Florida.
I think they should have a Depend Bowl. Football's so good you'll wet yourself. I'm telling you.
There you go.
They're playing right now.
There's the tagline.
There we go. But K-State is bowl eligible. 4 games to play. Amazing. The over-under in Vegas at the start of the year was 5.5 wins. I knew they weren't going to get 5.5 wins. I was positive they would.
You could already cash your ticket. How about that?
You can cash your ticket right now.
No, well, how I would know
you can
it?
do that this week, right?
I could if I had had a ticket.
You didn't bet the over?
Well, you know how I know they wouldn't have got 5.5 wins? Because you can't get a half win.
Well, I know.
You need a full win or a full loss.
Thanks for pointing that out.
I'm sorry, guys. Well, people are going to turn off the podcast after that line.
4 games.
Old Jimmy Johnson over there.
4 winnable games for the Cats as they are now 3-2 in the conference. Guys, they're tied for third with Texas and Iowa State. How this snuck up on me. I love the Tulsa paper in their power ratings had Baylor, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. Like, Come on, guys. They're 3-3. I know they might be, but that just seemed homerism to me to put them in there. They're kind of hit and miss. They were hit against the Wildcats, though.
Yeah, they must have just been impressed at the game in Stillwater.
One last thing I want to say, because I bring this stuff up all the time, is that, man, just think about how much better this defense might be if Justin Hughes wasn't
I was
out.
thinking about that today. I was. I played Khalid Duke at the defensive end spot, and I'm wondering if they won't move him there for next season because you get Justin Hughes back with Elijah Sullivan and Daniel Green. Pretty good group.
Maybe he's just so good as a cheerleader.
Yeah.
They just leave him there next season.
Man, I love that video. I don't remember who took it of him, like, basically waltzing with the sledgehammer like he was, like, leading one of the HBCU bands. Have you guys seen that video?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's pretty good.
I'll have to find that in the break.
Then you got Mike McCoy doing backflips after the game. Man, these injured players are having a ball.
Mike, I don't know, man. Maybe if you miss that backflip,
right.
It could be problems.
Yeah, problems.
But he's young, and you can't tell him what to do. Well, we're going to take a little break here on the Powercat Insiders Podcast, sponsored by Commerce Bank. On the other side, we will have Ryan's rant of the week. I hope he has one prepared. And we will also talk a little K-State hoops, but more football also awaits.
Stay locked in. The Powercat Podcast will be right back.
Is your January looking dry? Get some lotion. Get a humidifier. And better yet, get Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. With Drizzly, you can compare prices across local stores to get the best price on a huge selection of drinks perfect for dry January. Every single time. Non-alcoholic wines? Have a look. Ready-made mocktails? Grab a straw and order them up. Beer without the alcohol? Yep, take your pick. You can find all of them here, in the app. In that phone that's in your hand. Could it be any simpler? Nope, not a chance. So shop for great deals on all your dry January beverages or other drinks and get them delivered to your door or blanket fort, maybe. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations. And don't forget to lotion up your elbows. They're looking a little dry.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage, to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify is here to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 15% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. And sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. And Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow, grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast.
We now send it back to Fitz in the WTC Gig-Powered Studios.
Welcome back to the Powercat Insiders Podcast, sponsored by Commerce Bank. Fitz, Matt, Kellis, and the Southern boy himself, Ryan Black, all here in the GPC studios, the WTC Gig-Powered Studios. We thank our friends at WTC for giving us a gig of internet. It's fantastic. I can fly around the internet like nothing matters. It's kind of like banking at Commerce.
Life is full of moments, both big and small. Commerce Bank has the technology and the people to help with whatever financial challenges come your way. Commerce Bank, challenge accepted.
That's the best setup I've ever had.
Are we doing the rant right now, or...
We probably should talk some more football first.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because I have another question, because you guys have seen I always do this, like, because I'm the newest person here in terms of being on the beat. Did Saturday's game for you guys feel like all of those Snyder games over the years where K-State just we're just going to come in and do whatever we want, and KU can't do anything about it.
It did.
To a T.
Oh.
It really did. And it had to really deflate that segment of the KU crowd that remembered what it was like when Snyder retired before, and they had Mangino in place, and Mark was getting it up and running and flattened Prince for 3 games in a row. There was a segment of fans that would always say, well, the old man's gone. KU's it's a whole different series now, and this had to really take the air out of them, thinking, well, that looked way too familiar. I think as much Chris Kleiman played it down during the week, just like Bill Snyder did, this was important.
Yeah. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
And I sense a little tension between him and Les.
I do too.
I will say one thing David Beatty did right when he was the KU coach was kiss, can I say ass?
He did.
Yeah.
Backside?
Kiss K-State's ass.
And you know what?
He sucked up to Bill Snyder at every turn, and he covered the spread against him every year, almost won.
He was
It
competitive.
was a better strategy than what Les Miles did.
Yeah, Les, you might want to rethink this one.
Rattling the cage.
Well, and that's what I was saying, because you guys know, the last 2 years, it has been a very competitive game. So this is the first time I've ever covered this rivalry where K-State dominated like they have so many of them.
Yeah, I mean...
2 years ago was where Skylar Thompson came on the scene for an injured Delton and basically helped them win that game in the second half. Last year, Delton did the opposite, came in and ran for the game-winning touchdown with 2:45 left. So they've been 2 close games last 2 years.
I still thought going to the third quarter, since it was 17-3, this still has a chance to be.
I agree.
Because of what KU had done in the second half.
Yeah.
They were a pretty good second half team.
Yep.
So when Coach comes out, I asked him, how important is this drive to start the third quarter? I use the word vital. And he looked at me and kind of gave me that wry grin and says, they're all vital. Meaning, this one's pretty vital. And when K-State just, again, shoved it down their throat in 9 plays, 75 yards, and just over 4 minutes, ball game. It was done at that point, and that's when they started heading to the exit signs.
And KU starts going for it in their own territory early fourth quarter. The first one felt a little early to me. Just punt it away, see if you can get a turnover. But they went for it, and that's when the floodgates opened.
Yeah, that's a tough one because you're not going to win either way. But if you want to have any prayer, you probably do need to go for it.
It's a tough call.
But if you punt, the final score looks closer. So,
It's true.
It's sad to think that way, but they might have been better off punting. I don't know.
I was 50-50 them going for it on that first one.
Yeah.
I get it, but the second one, kick it. Just
get out of here.
Yeah, because you're asking for it.
Yeah, and then who knows? Tyler Burns might run twice for 32 yards and score a touchdown.
I would like to hear, and I'll take the blame on this one for going off the beaten path. I would like to hear KU's recruiting stance when they go into a young man's home. What they play, what they come play for us. I want to hear what they say.
You can come play right away, man.
I want to hear what they say.
Yeah, it's all about coming in and play. Look at Puka. Puka, he could come in and play, start right away as a freshman, and now he's one of the best running backs in the Big 12. You always have leverage in the recruiting angle. You can come play for a championship team. May not play for 3 years.
I just want to hear how KU goes about it.
And he also flashed a Super Bowl ring. Seriously, it's impressive.
National championship.
Oh, yeah.
Super Bowl.
Same thing. I got you. It's all good.
They're all paid. Yeah. How about, I think LSU fans are a little upset now. Les kind of drove into the crowd here by saying it was the best environment he's ever coached a game in. I would probably think LSU has a better environment than that.
I don't know. It was pretty electric. You were on the field.
And there was, he didn't see
It was
any
electric because half the crowd was, K-State, if not more.
All he saw were Jayhawk fans.
They got a lot out of all the empty seats in the bowl or the north end zone.
Those were the free tickets probably for going to the Tech game, and they didn't bother to come back.
I want to hear how they sell it.
I just have a long sigh over here about this Les Miles comment. That's one of those things where it's you have to say, even if it was the ugliest baby you ever saw, you'd say, that's a beautiful baby. There's no way he actually believes that, about that being the best. Because,
you don't tell the parents their baby's ugly?
That doesn't mean you can't think it. You just shouldn't tell them.
Well, he also said KU had better talent than they ever had at Oklahoma State.
Which also was ridiculous.
Absurd.
But
to your point, Gavin Potter, who was committed here, is starting in their in the middle of their defense.
Yeah,
I mean, he's no good right now because he's a true freshman.
True freshman, yeah.
And K-State ate him alive. He was in the wrong spot darn near every play, but he's out there.
And Potter, he was the one, right, with the crazy signing day thing.
Yeah, where he pulled
Yeah.
off the shirts.
Yeah.
Velton Gardner, another K-State commit former, he was out there playing
Gardner too.
So, I mean, they're
buying it.
Recruiting is one of the things they're doing well. It's actually playing good every week that's eluding them.
I have contended that he's doing his job. He's upped the number of wins.
Mm-hmm.
They're recruiting better. They're fundraising because they've got to fix their facilities. People love him. He's getting people to open up their checkbooks. And once they get the money kind of to redo everything over there, they have to do it. And he just keeps them winning, and maybe he gets them to 6 wins in year 3 or 4, and then he's out. And the next guy comes in.
Good luck.
Maybe off this staff. I don't know who it'd be.
Willie Taggart.
Oh, God.
Ayo.
And he's got facilities. He's got better players. He's got a little momentum in the program. And maybe then they're set up. I think Les Miles is serving a purpose at Kansas, and it wasn't to win 10 games. It wasn't to be a miracle worker. It was to kind of get things off they're dead in the water. Get things flowing in the right direction, particularly with finances and getting new facilities, and then the next guy can do it. I don't know. Who knows? Willie Taggart. What does Willie Taggart? If you were Willie Taggart and you just got fired by FSU and you got an ungodly buyout, do you ever work again? I don't.
Yeah, he got $18 million. I would just kick back.
I would be in, Bermuda, Belize, Bahamas, one of those B things, Bismarck, one of those B places that you vacation
Buffalo.
in. Buffalo, for the rest of my stinking life. I got a call, the big rumor there, and I noticed he wasn't on the Vegas odds. Brent Venables. They're going after Venables.
I've seen his name brought up there.
I've also seen Jeff Scott, the Clemson offensive coordinator, mentioned there too.
Interesting.
Co-offensive coordinator. They've had co-offensive coordinators for
Venables would be great anywhere if he'd ever coach, if he'd ever go be a head coach.
Very interesting.
Mark Stoops.
Mark Stoops is another
he's
name
been
I've
on that
seen.
too.
Yeah, just what he's done at Kentucky. Very impressive.
I'm not buying on Mark Stoops. I think he's done a really good job at Kentucky, but I think being under the radar, little pressure, secondary sport at Kentucky, not regarded highly in the SEC, he's flourished in that lower expectations. Florida State, you better win 10.
Is Florida State still a primetime job?
It's getting...
Define prime
Define
like
prime
top
time.
25?
Well,
It's top 25.
Yeah, it's top 25, but is it what it was 10 years ago?
Eddie, one of my buddies from the Oklahoma Rivals site, had a great tweet. They are one more bad hire from becoming Nebraska.
Yeah.
All
I
talk,
saw
all
that.
tradition, and no results.
I just feel like that's a little bit because they literally just won a national title not even 5 years ago. Like, it'd be different. I mean, Nebraska, we're talking about, 22 years ago since they won a title. But, Florida State won one 5 years ago.
I
don't think they're quite that,
though, Florida State and Miami are newcomers to the elite club.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they really are. Almost every other of the programs regarded as, traditional programs, the Notre Dames and Michigans, UCLA, USC, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas, Penn State, are all post-World War II births.
Florida's the same way. Their first national champion was 96 under
And a
Spurrier.
lot of those SEC schools, the guys come back from World War II, they come onto campus, they fill their football teams up with them, and schools like K-State and KU were still doing farm boys playing against men. And that's how those programs were built. Florida State and Miami are different. They're all from the 70s and on, where they built their tradition.
Well, I would just say, and not that I'm an expert on Florida State, but I had heard that was part of the reason why Fisher's name was bandied about for all these jobs for years, is because their facilities aren't up to snuff.
They're not great.
Problems.
Compared to these other quote-unquote, as you call them, primetime programs. That's where I would say, because obviously they're in a prime recruiting location. Any of the Florida schools have that. But, in just the unending arms race that is college football, that's where I think maybe they're lacking.
You can't do that. You just can't. And I applaud John Curry's foresight to make sure K-State had great facilities for this transition. There's no denying that it's played a role making things easier. What do you got to rant for us today?
Okay, so I don't know if you guys heard about this the other day. So I was talking to D. Scott, your employee here. And this is the second time that I've gone over there, so this is exactly what happened 2 years ago. Why does KU make it so difficult to get the credentials? Like, how did you guys get them? That's what I want to know. How did you guys get the credentials for the game?
They mailed them to me.
I had them
What?
FedExed. Yeah.
Okay, they didn't give me that.
Easy.
They didn't give me that option, like when I did my credentials. Like, at least I thought I had checked off to mail them to me. But see, of course, so what I had to do is on this extremely busy game day is go to, where the will call is to pick them up and then drive back through the crowd to go to where that parking garage is. And then, of course, I get guffed from the parking lot attendant. And I'm like, well, hey, here's the email from the woman who's over, KU's SID office. And I'm like, do you need me to show it to you? And it just time after time after time, I'm like, I just wish like the Big 12 or the NCAA or somebody just had like a specific policy for this stuff. Like I mean, whether you send it to your phone or whether, like I've said, I think Baylor does a great job where what they've done is they email you the parking pass and you just print it off yourself. Like I even told D. Scott, think about it that way. Then you cut down on paper. If you just email it to us, there's no paper involved other than you having to print it off. I just don't see why it's so difficult here in 2019 to get credentials to people.
I'm more upset with Texas and their credentialing system. Have you guys?
The fact that you actually have a whole separate.
You have to create your own.
Let's point this out
profile to apply for credentials at Texas.
Almost every major program, every major conference uses a thing called Sports Systems that has a credentialing system, and it's kind of cool. When Kellis goes to apply, he types in his email, it pulls up his profile. And the profile exists in there, whether it's Texas has to be Texas, and they have their own system that is somewhat archaic and confusing, and you have to start over for everyone you're credentialing. Every person. So, my guys, we got 3 credentials. Actually, we had 2 because they're limiting new media to 2 credentials. Well, quite often we take 4 people. I'm not traveling anymore. So we had to get Zach, our video guy, credentialed, and he's going to shoot for WIBW also.
What? No, you're kidding me. What?
Yeah, they wouldn't give us more than 2 credentials.
No way.
It's crazy. They're still in the 80s where they think newspapers and talk radio are the thing.
Huh.
But yeah, you got to start over.
Newspapers are pretty cool. Let's be honest.
You've got to start over every time you do a credential. In the sports systems, okay, I'm going to add Matt Walters. And
so you're just saying that any website that applies for credentials there only gets 2 people?
That's what I'm told. But I know the Texas ones, I know they have multiple people in there. I know they have more than 2. I mean, Chip Brown and Taylor Estes, my friends that I knew from Rivals that are on 24/7 now, are there. They went to scout, and the old 24/7 guys will be there. I mean, that's another thing. You talk about facilities. Why doesn't Texas have a better press box system? They've rebuilt everything about that stadium except the press box. It's old. The video cameras,
like Mississippi State.
The radio booths.
It's better than Mississippi State.
Yeah, the radio booths are open air. It's crazy. So in the front row are the TV cameras that are shooting from the high, up.
And we're right behind them.
And they're right behind them. So if a cameraman happens to yell an obscenity for whatever reason, I don't know why, every radio broadcast would pick it up.
Yeah, Georgia's the same way. That's where the cameras are like right in front of where the media.
But there's not enough room. What I love is the visiting media is kind of down on a separate end, and to our left is the Spanish language radio for Texas sports, and you get to hear them. It's like a soccer broadcast. It's awesome. They're in a little booth, but it's not as soundproof as you can't soundproof that.
Well, I guess Kellis, like you said, applying for Texas stuff is because you're not going to another state. You're going to a republic, so it has to be different than going. I'm surprised they don't maybe ask you for your passport.
That's coming.
Get credentialed for Texas.
Coming.
So then, needless to say, my rant was pretty stupid because apparently you guys got your credentials without issue.
Well,
and I'm going to make sure, I guess, in advance for 2 years from now that I email and say, please mail my credentials to me.
Traffic was miserable to the game coming from Manhattan. Yeah. I had to use my knowledge of Lawrence and go around.
I'm sure that helped a lot.
I mean, I think K-State's football team got caught up. They even had a police escort and got caught up in it. I was laughing at them because they were in gridlock. So definitely had to take the backers. There were people parking all the way at Iowa Street to walk there. It was like a mile and a half away. The long trek.
Wow.
I really didn't respond to your rant just because mine's just handed to me. So.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Such are the perks for working for K-State Sports, Learfield.
IMG. Learfield IMG College. Get it right.
Do you really? But do you have to actually remember to
that's the
say
name of the
every
company.
part of that? Like, that just seems like a mouthful.
Yes.
Man.
When you go to break, Learfield IMG College.
Wow.
UNLV basketball, on the other hand, I sent an email and said, do you need something on letterhead? And they're, nah, come on in.
You don't need
forget-
a ticket. You don't need a credential. Just walk up.
Just walk in.
Basketball.
Man, that should be a fun trip.
That
for
was
you.
my transition right there.
Tell us about your travel plans for that.
Well, I'm leaving Thursday morning, so I'm in hyperspeed with all my podcasts this week. Got to get the pregame. I always get the pregame podcast done on Wednesday, but then I do the overtime podcast on Thursday because that's all the bells and whistles, the fun stuff. No fun stuff in this one. Very limited fun stuff, and I'll get that up early. So I got to have all those on hold and head out. I leave for KCI Thursday morning, and now this is kind of scary for everyone involved. I arrive in Vegas about 1 p.m. My wife had a meeting pop up, so she had to change her flight, so she doesn't get out till late Thursday night, and our friends Brad and Shannon don't get there till late Thursday night. I will be loose in Vegas for a good 9-10 hours before anyone's there to accompany me and kind of supervise my activities. So it'll be fun. Kansas State basketball does open their season Wednesday night with North Dakota State. Our Ross Uglum.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night.
Yes.
Guys, I literally would have missed it.
It's tomorrow night.
I had it in my brain
7
Wednesday
p.m.
night. I would have missed it.
That would have been funny.
Wow.
I still might because I have so much stuff to do. Ross Uglum sitting next door. He, of course, helps us out at Go Powercat, but he runs the North Dakota State site and the Green Bay Packers site for CBS on our networks. So I'm intrigued here. I'm very, very intrigued what we're going to see from this team. And like I pointed out on my TV show, The Drive, North Dakota State is regarded as the Duke of the Northern Plains. I made that up, but...
Well, I'm just going to say, Fitz, if I don't get a text from you next week about the podcast and I see people coming in and taking out stuff, I'll know it's because you gambled the whole company away.
No, I'm not a big gambler.
Better. That was better.
I'm really not a big gambler. I don't bet on sports because, well, right now on The Drive, I'm basically shooting 35% from the free throw line on my picks. I'm in last on our picks. I'm not good. I don't bet on sports. I do play blackjack, so that's probably what I'll entertain myself with Thursday. I'll find a blackjack table up at the Flamingo or something nearby where we're staying, and then I'm taking the mortgage. You got to take the mortgage to Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, of course. But I'll tell you one thing you won't see tomorrow night for basketball. Sean Williams. That's the only thing I can guarantee you won't see.
Are they
Sean
literally
Williams
going to build him a doghouse at the end of the bench? He has to sit in during the game. I'd love to know what he did.
Okay, I'm sorry just because you brought this up.
He cracked himself
I
up.
would just love to see him laying on top of it like he's Snoopy.
Like on top of the doghouse?
He's on top. He's like, man, when am I going to get back in a...
Sean, this is where you got to sit for the game. Really, Coach? Yeah, that's something Frank Martin.
I don't know who Woodstock would be, though. That's the one.
How optimistic are you guys, my God, for K-State basketball? I mean, what's your realistic belief for this team? I'm confused. I see flashes here that made me more hopeful than originally, but they're so young, and these guys haven't been proven as leaders.
Yeah, we're going to see probably waves of greatness and waves of, oh, Lord. My biggest concern is in the post, what will they be able to get accomplished this year? Because we haven't seen James Love, Nigel Shad. Those two haven't played much anyway in the last couple of years. And Levi Stockard, I think, is better. But over the long haul, is K-State going to have any presence in the paint? They're playing a team that got in the NCAA tournament last year right out of the chute. I mean, who knows? I think it's a hodgepodge of what we're going to see.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is one of the tougher games, believe it or not, on the non-conference schedule, and they're taking it right off the bat. It's really a light schedule, and I agree with this one. Often I'm critical of those things, but I feel like this year it's warranted. Get this team up to speed. What are your expectations for K-State basketball this season?
I think they make the NCAA tournament.
You do.
I think they win 20 games.
Good.
I think they finish around the middle of the pack in the Big 12, but I don't think they'll do much more than that.
I would take all that as a as a good season for what they've got.
I'm more bullish on them than some. I like their freshmen. I think DeJuan Gordon's really good. And I think Montavious Murphy and Antonio Gordon will help them inside. I do have doubts about Mack, just as how foul-prone he is. I think it'll be pretty clear from him every week. When he avoids foul trouble, they'll be okay down low. And when he doesn't, it'll be an adventure. I don't know what we'll see from Levi. I'm not really sure what we see at point guard, especially without Sean in there.
I kind of like Sloan.
He's all right.
Just got to figure it out defensively.
It's just kind of interesting. You're going into the first game basically down 3 scholarship players. No Sean Williams, no Nigel Shadd, no James Love. I'm not sure when or if we'll ever see any of those guys this year, but I still like Xavier Sneed. I like Jada. I think they'll be, solid. I think it'll be a lot like, you remember when Marcus Foster and Wesley Wundu were freshmen? I think it'll be a lot like that year.
A little hit and miss, but when they hit, they're really fun to watch. I agree. I'm really optimistic about the freshmen. DeJuan Gordon may not be as far as long as I thought he might be when they signed him, but the other two are way ahead of where I thought they'd be. I think they're going to settle into Levi Stockard as the backup for Mack, and then the 2 freshmen kind of running through the 4.
I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
They can run, do a lot more things.
It is an athletic bunch.
It is. It really is.
There are going to be times where they're really exciting.
And I think that's a key, Ryan. They got to get up and down the court, kind of beat those defenses down to the other end. Just open it up and kind of play a fun brand. It'll be good for the fans because they'll be drinking beer to see a team that gets up and down the court.
Yeah, but I think, and the main thing is, too, at some point, like I said, the only thing for these freshmen is they're going to have to learn how to play the defense that Bruce Weber likes to play. But I do think just overall it is going to be a more fun, maybe brand of basketball than what we've seen the last few years. I got to agree, honestly, with Kellis. I'm a lot higher on this team than most people are. I was shocked they were picked 9th in the Big 12.
I don't think that's right.
And like I kind of view, I think they're going to win right at 20 games. I think, they'll get kind of somewhere in that 7 to 10 line in the NCAA tournament, and they won't make it out the first weekend. But I still think that's a pretty good season after you lose 3 of the best players that you've ever had.
20 games put you right at 9-9, 8-10 in the conference. Yeah. You think that's right?
Yeah.
Or 10-8.
Yeah. In between the 8 to 10 wins in conference play.
10-8. I'm afraid they're going to be in the 7-win range, and I see them clearly as a bubble team, maybe going back to Dayton.
God, no, not Dayton, please.
I hate Dayton so much.
Just RIP my travel budget. That's why I don't want it.
You didn't go, though, did you?
No, I sent Riley.
Yeah.
I'm the only one who's been there, right? What are y'all complaining about?
Well, because I'm talking about my travel budget.
That's what I'm talking about.
Not like what you have Big Daddy Warbucks McClatchy money here.
Hey, I've done it. I've been through the battles. Okay? I woke up, I've flown to Dayton and covered the game. I've then flown to Sacramento and covered a game the next day.
And that one ticket for me was more than $1,200 to get Riley.
Oh, I heard it was. And then Riley lost like his credit card or debit card or something in Sacramento.
I will say this. As much of a pain as it is to get to Dayton, once you get there, those games are fabulous because there's so much on the line.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, it is a can't-lose game. Okay. Nobody wants to go that far and miss out on the actual bracket. That game has more intensity than any other game I've covered.
Here's my thing. I think Kansas City should make a major push to get those games out of Dayton and put them in Municipal Auditorium, one of the legendary NCAA tournament places. And then after the games, the winners, you put them on the bus and you take them to the downtown airport and off they go on a charter.
Man, I love that idea. That's awesome. I also like the fact that you didn't say Sprint Center. I mean,
no, you play it in Muni because for a long time Muni still had the most NCAA tournament games, and now it's fallen off because nobody ever plays there. But it'd be a really cool place to play those 2 nights of basketball in downtown Kansas City where it all really was established. And then, like I said, you don't have to take them to KCI. That you can bring a charter into that downtown airport where the sports teams come in. And
how are the crowds for those games in Dayton that you covered, Kellis?
Sellouts.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how. That's why they get it every year. It's like the one city that could sell out the 16 versus 16 play.
I would think that the Kansas City could do it though too, right?
I think you too. I imagine they do a lot of corporate sales.
Oh yeah, of course.
This is important for Dayton. It is. It's really headline news for Dayton, but they don't realize it's not good news because everyone bitches about Dayton.
Yeah.
If your big thing in town is a 16 versus 16 game, and that's your pride and joy, that's very Dayton. And there's probably some people from Dayton listening to this that are very angry. It's a beautiful town. Okay.
That's not actually what people with Dayton sound like. Right?
Would Dayton be in your top 5 Ohio cities?
That goes back to the ugly children comment from Jimmy Johnson earlier.
Yeah.
Well, I said babies. I didn't say children.
Babies. Oh, Dayton.
Because, I mean, come on. All babies really look the same for the most part. Don't they? Don't you guys feel like it?
They kind of look like me, fat and bald.
Well, but I'm just saying, like, okay, I'm being honest, guys. Like, I've never seen a baby, and you just see people say, oh, he or she looks just like, Aunt Jeannie or something, and I'm like, they look like a baby. I can't tell they look like an adult.
One dad in the group answer that.
Oh, yeah. Wait, what? Wait, you don't have kids?
Nope.
What?
Not that he knows of.
Oh. Well, heck, okay, Kellis, it's all on you, man. You got to step up.
Well, I mean, yeah, all 3 of my kids got my wife's look, so they're all nobody's calling them ugly. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I've looked at kids before. I'd have friends who, I mean, there aren't a whole lot of great looking newborns.
But that's all I'm saying. It's like obviously once kids get,
you definitely have to do it when you say, it's the cutest baby I've ever seen. Then when you're out of the room, that's the ugliest baby I've ever seen.
Well, all I'm saying is like when they're actual infants, I don't think you can really tell. But then obviously once they at least have grown some, you're like, okay, well their facial features look like so and so when they were younger.
Infants look like old people, honestly.
Yeah.
I was born in a tuxedo with a cigar. It's a little known fact about me.
A tuxedo with a cigar.
Yeah.
And that's classy.
I look like an old guy. I had a top hat. Very uncomfortable for my mother. By the way, guys, if you're listening and you're not married or you're getting ready to be married, Kellis just gave you a clinic on how to keep your marriage happy. Always compliment the wife whenever possible, because if you don't, they'll beat the tar out of you.
And on that note,
we're done. We appreciate you listening to the Powercat Insiders Podcast. A couple of these guys have to get to a Bruce Weber press conference here on Monday because apparently they play basketball tomorrow night. Who knew?
You've been listening to the Powercat Insiders Podcast, presented by Commerce Bank. Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.